The day Haman stopped being a small man was the day he became a dangerous one. Before that morning, he was just another official in the king's palace. Sharp eyes, smooth voice, always smiling a little too much. The kind of man who remembered your birthday but forgot your kindness. The kind who bowed low but watched closely. When the king lifted him above all the other leaders, something inside him shifted. It happened fast. The trumpet sounded. The royal servant read the decree. By command of King Ahasuerus, Haman son of Hammedatha is raised above all princes. Let all bow before him. The words floated in the air like perfume. Haman felt them sink into his skin. He had worked for this. Years of smiling when insulted. Years of listening quietly while others took credit. Years of standing in corners, unnoticed. Not anymore. That afternoon, he walked through the palace gate for the first time as the highest official in the empire, and everyone bowed. Silk robes touched the stone floor. Heads lowered. Voices murmured, "Long live Haman." His heart beat louder with each step. Everyone bowed, except one man. Mordecai stood near the gate pillars, hands folded in his sleeves. His beard was streaked with gray. His eyes were calm. He did not move. Haman slowed. Maybe the man had not heard. He stopped directly in front of him. Still nothing. The air grew heavy. A guard whispered, "It is Mordecai, the Jew." Haman forced a small smile. "You must not have heard the king's command." Mordecai met his eyes. His voice was steady. "I heard, and yet you do not bow." "I bow to God," Mordecai said gently. "Not to men." It was not loud. It was not angry. It was simple. And that simplicity burned more than an insult. Haman laughed lightly as if it meant nothing. "Be careful, old man. Pride can be costly," Mordecai replied. "Yes, it can." Haman walked on, but inside, something twisted. At dinner that night, his wife Zeresh noticed his silence.
"You have the whole empire under you," she said, pouring wine. "Why do you look like you swallowed sour milk?" He forced a smile. "Everyone bows." "Everyone?" He stared at the cup in his hand. "Except one." She rolled her eyes. "Then remove him." "It is not that simple," Haman muttered. But it was. He could not sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Mordecai standing tall while others knelt. It was not just refusal, it was freedom, and Haman hated it. The next morning, he asked the palace scribes to gather records. He asked questions about the Jews, where they lived, how many they were, how they kept their customs. If one man would not bow, then perhaps none of them truly did. His anger grew into something larger, something colder. He went to the king. "There is a certain people scattered throughout your kingdom," Haman began carefully. "They live by different laws. They do not fully honor the king's ways. It may not be wise to ignore that." The king leaned back. He trusted Haman. Haman was loyal, efficient, always calm. "What do you suggest?" Haman lowered his eyes. "For the peace of the kingdom, remove the problem completely." The king did not ask many questions. He handed Haman his ring. The decree was written, sealed, sent across the empire. One day, one order, a whole people marked for destruction. When Mordecai heard, he tore his clothes and sat in ashes near the gate. People passed him whispering. Haman watched from a balcony. Now, he thought, he will bow. But Mordecai did not bow. He wept, he prayed, but he did not bow. Days passed. Then the queen requested a private banquet with the king and Haman. Haman's chest swelled with pride. The queen herself. At home, he boasted, "Even the queen invites only me and the king. Who is greater than I?" Zeresh smiled thinly. "And yet you still speak of that man at the gate." Haman slammed his cup down. "Because he stands when he should kneel." "Then build a high stake," she said simply. "In the morning, ask the king to deal with him." Haman liked that idea. By sunset, workers were raising it high in his courtyard. That night, the king could not sleep. He asked for the royal records to be read aloud. And there, hidden in old ink and fading paper, was a forgotten note. Mordecai once exposed a plot to harm the king. "What reward was given to him?" the king asked. "Nothing," the servant replied. At that exact moment, Haman entered the outer court to ask for Mordecai's death. The king called him in. "Haman," the king said, What should be done for the man the king delights to honor? Haman's heart leaped. Who else could it be? He smiled carefully. Dress him in royal robes, place him on the king's horse, lead him through the city and declare his honor. The king clapped his hands. Excellent! Do that for Mordecai. The words landed like stones. For Mordecai? Yes, quickly. Haman's mouth went dry. By midday he was leading the horse through the streets. Mordecai sat tall in royal robes. Haman shouted, "This is what is done for the man the king honors." People cheered. Some noticed the pain in Haman's voice. When it was over, he rushed home with his head covered. Zeresh listened quietly this time. Then she said softly, "If Mordecai is of the Jewish people, and you have begun to fall before him, you will not overcome him." Her words felt like cold water. That evening at the queen's second banquet, everything changed again. The king smiled at Esther. "Tell me your wish." Her hands trembled slightly, but her voice was clear. "If I have found favor, spare my life and the life of my people. We have been sold to be destroyed." The king's face darkened. "Who would dare?" Esther turned slowly. "The enemy is this man." Silence swallowed the room. Haman stared at her. The queen was one of them? The king rose in anger and stepped outside. Haman felt the world tilt. He had never asked who Esther truly was. He had never cared. He fell at her feet. "Please," he whispered, "I did not know." She looked at him, not with anger, but with sadness. "You never wanted to know." The king returned and saw Haman kneeling close to the queen. Rage exploded. A servant spoke carefully. "There is a stake at Haman's house, built for Mordecai." The king did not hesitate. "Use it." And just like that, the man who wanted every knee to bend was the one who fell. Days later, the decree was reversed. The people were saved. Mordecai was raised to Haman's former position. But here is what most never understood. Years before, Haman had been a poor boy watching powerful men ignore his father. He had sworn never to be small again, never to be unseen. Every step he took was to outrun that memory. He thought power would heal him. Instead, it exposed him. In the end, it was never Mordecai who defeated him. It was the hunger inside him that could never be satisfied. And the strange thing? Mordecai never once tried to fight Haman. He simply refused to bow. And sometimes that is enough to change history.